We got some old gum here. Let's get in here and check it out. Now these are going to be single pieces, single unit type of or style of bubble gum. You remember in the gas station when you were a kid, on the very bottom of the counter, there would be bins or bulk bins, where they have like loose bubblegum pieces. They're not in packs. They're just like individually wrapped. They go by different names in our hobby. Now, back in the day, they're called penny candies or penny pieces. But, as inflation changed, the penny pieces became a nickel. And that's because, there's not a coin for 2 cents or a coin for 3 cents, right? And so they had to make the jump to nickel. All right. Now, I'm sure some gas stations, especially mom and pop ones, charge maybe a couple pennies there. He always sends me free things. This is actually a friend of mine, but he's an eBay seller. Yeah, he threw in some extras. He's really good about that. I know when I was shaking this box, there's actually something down here too. I can feel it. I heard something plastic. There shouldn't be anything plastic. And this is way more than I ordered. I see doubles and stuff in here, so this is really cool. This should be a nice little treat, actually. Yeah, I kind of surprised myself when I bought this. I collect all this stuff. Actually, there wasn't anything at the bottom. I definitely collect old bubble gum, but, there's not much novelty here. This piece is obviously novelty, but it doesn't have like a super high novelty factor. This is a Bozo the Clown bubblegum. This came in, to my knowledge, 3 different formats. I did not have this one. Most of these date to 1992. If you recall, back in the early 80s, there was this kind of odd, like, to me it was odd, like a popularity in Bozo the Clown. I don't know if you remember this. And they started making all these like statues, and I don't know where that came from. But anyway, that's pretty cool to have. There's a double. Let's just try to organize this. These are the 2 giant. I did not have this either. Fleer Double Bubble. This would date right in the middle of the 80s. Now, something like this is obviously going to cost you a nickel back in the day. So that's another thing they were doing to try to get around or try to get out of the penny candy era to justify charging a nickel. I hope I'm making sense here. So one thing a lot of confectionery people did was they upped the size. And so now that kind of these look like something you'd maybe pay a nickel for, whereas before you would pay a penny for. Okay, here's another, we can organize it like this. Here's, let me just pull these out. Paws, that's what she said. These are, so yeah, great comparison. This would maybe cost you, I'm speculating, I don't remember. These might have cost you a penny. This would have cost you a nickel, something like that. These could have been a dime though. That's a lot of bubble gum, but I don't know. These are rare, very rare. These are Lance bubblegum. You might think of, when you see Lance, you probably think of like peanuts or chips, right? Lance potato chips. Very classic, a lot of nostalgia surrounding the Lance brand. These old men, these old timers who have these general stores like in their backyards. These fake general stores will have a lot of Lance branded things. Very nice to have. I'm really happy to have these, actually. I'll probably definitely list one of them for sale, but yeah, all these doubles I'll be listing. I noticed these things. I can't remember if they're part of the original auction or not, but these are going to be Wrigley's Spearmint. Again, I think this is a good example of when they're just trying to upcharge a little bit, maybe charge a nickel for something like this, as opposed to a stick of gum that, you'd be hard pressed to charge more. But yeah, like a little block form. So those are cool. I've never seen these actually. Okay. These match, so let's pull these out. Okay, well, actually they're all different. These are Fleer Double Bubble. Now these are going to date into the 60s now. Actually, maybe even the late 50s. I'm thinking 58. I'm speculating. if they get into the 60s, I don't think they would go past maybe 62. Actually, now that I'm looking at them, I'm pretty sure these are 50s. But these would go here. These are all Fleer double bubbles, as are these. These match. Yeah, I think these are definitely going to be more in the 60s for these. But I can't really give you a date. Fleer was never the best at dating their stuff. Topps was, but for some reason Fleer avoided dating their packages. I'm sure there's a lot of strategy involved in that. Well, these are all food items and they have a shelf life. And so I'm sure a lot of thought went to some of these copyrights. Now, this is an odd one, but I can see double bubble. I don't want to unwrap this. Now, this is going to be an oldie. If it's not 50s, it's early 60s again. You can kind of see that here, can't you? How these kind of match. This might be 50s. I can't hang a hat on it, but extremely rare. This actually might be the rarest thing in this entire lot. And then lastly, we have another Lance. It says soft. So yeah, there was this whole kind of movement of soft bubblegum. When I see soft bubblegum, I think of the late years of the 80s and definitely early 90s. They made it to where bubblegum could be squeezed through tubes, and that would have been the early 90s. But before that, they were still experimenting with soft bubblegum. I'm not sure really what the drive was. Maybe people had dentures or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Just something new, I guess, to maybe make bubblegum more soft. It's not soft anymore. But yeah, very cool to see that Lance's brand. This is not something you see a lot of because they're mostly were in the snacks category. But yeah, I guess they dabbled with bubblegum. So yeah, if you just join me, or let me just review it. I got a lot of these singles. Well, this ain't a single, and that was a freebie. But here we got all these singles pieces. So pretty cool, nice variety. Most of them dated back to, I would say, comfortably the 60s. These are probably the newest things here. That would be early 90s. And then this is from 2005. I get these in pretty regularly. This is from the mini lunchbox genre. Kind of random, but for some, it actually was a thing for a while back in the 2000s, or late 90s, early 2000s, of putting candy and gum in these little lunch boxes. Not sure where these little, I'm not sure what inspired some of this stuff, you know. All right, well, guys, hope you enjoyed that. I know I did, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And Russ Van out. Here's that last little flyover.